life's a work. Wait, life's a work. That's the law. So Chael Sonnen fought Anderson Silva again. But did he really? Round one. What the fuck? Life's a work.
Now, Chris, I know you've heard me say it before. The listeners have heard me say it before. Life is a work. And while life is working, the boxing world is working. And I think this is probably the reason why this was in Brazil and no one was talking about it, because Chael Sonnen he defended his world title, if you listen to Chael, but Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva had their third fight, their final rematch, with Anderson being 2 ahead of Chael being 2 down. They went into this and they sold it as a boxing fight. Well, then we heard, in the words of Steve Swift's, a ding ding, and we knew right away this wasn't a fucking fight.
No,
this was a work.
Yeah, this was a complete work. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, they stole money. They literally stole money for Chael. This isn't the first time. But, you know, for the fact that they managed to do this under the guise of boxing, I don't know. Maybe this was all just a big slap in the face, F you to all of these internet, YouTube boxing, misfit boxing things, you know, that's going on, like, ha, you're dumb and we're going to show you how dumb you are. But we're talking about Anderson Silva, a guy who's been in there with a couple of legitimate boxers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's had some good outings against boxers. And if you watch this fight, you can see where it's just a glorified ha. The whole thing starts off. This is where I knew we were screwed. The entire thing starts off with Chael Sonnen coming out and throwing that overhand, that kind of crunch down overhand right that he throws as a jab before he shot in on Anderson every single time against everybody that he really fights against. So it wasn't set up to be a boxing match. This was him going, we're going to have some fun with this. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is horrible. And I hope that I never have to get suckered into one of these things again.
So there was two incidences that I realized that this was a work. The first one, I was like, that seemed weird. The second one, I was like, all right. First one was before, so it was just after they touched the gloves, before the bell actually rang. The camera came in on Chael, and Chael was looking directly at Anderson and gave him a wink. And it wasn't like a wink like, hey, let's go out and work. It was a please stick to the agreement kind of a wink. Like, don't come out here and sleep me. Second thing, Chael came out and started throwing punches. I don't care if they were pampered or they were actual blows. There was no way in hell that Chael Sonnen in a real fight with Anderson Silva in a boxing match would come out there and throw the first punch.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Unless he was just planning on going to sleep, because Anderson had 1,000,001 opportunities to sleep him. And let's say we're wrong. Let's say that this was an actual fight. Well, both of them shouldn't be fucking fighting anymore then.
Well, then that begs the question, is that why it was in Brazil? Because the entire thing, would have gotten laughed at. And we've got enough of that stuff going on in the United States already with boxing. Hell, we got another one that's supposedly going to be coming up with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. This is the ridiculous that it is. We've got everything all the Jake Paul fights that he's done, all of the YouTuber, the misfit boxing between Paige Van Zandt, okay, and Elle Brook was at least a real boxing competition.
Yeah.
These 220-pound girls went out there and put on a better showing than Anderson fucking Silva and Chael Sonnen. Come on. What are we doing here, dude?
We're working. Life's a fucking work at this point. Everything is just pro wrestling. We could have called the show anything. We really could have. I know that you created the law, but I feel like it's a perfect title for a combat sports show, because a lot of this is resembling wrestling.
100%. Life is about wrestling sometimes. You know what I mean? The lessons that you learn are crazy. And it's Chael Sonnen, to his own credit, all of his promos are pro wrestling promos. He attacks the business end of it. He attacks the business end of it and the selling end of the business very, very pro wrestling like. right?
Now you said something that was kind of a little light bulb off in my head. You're talking about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. What do you think about this replacement fight that may be coming here in July between Mike Perry and Jake Paul?
Well, I think that, listen, a lot of people, because of Mike Perry's recent success in bare knuckle, think that, Mike Perry should be able to go out there and smash him with
Mhm.
boxing gloves on. That's a different story. You know what I mean? Mike Perry wasn't sleeping people with 4-ounce UFC gloves,
Well, he kind of was.
you know?
He kind of was, but I know what you mean. Not enough to keep him in the UFC and dominant.
Exactly. Exactly. He's found his niche inside of bare knuckle. So now you're going to put on, 8, 10, 12-ounce gloves on him in a boxing match. I think that it's another fight, another Jake Paul fight against an MMA guy that he knows he can beat because he's longer, he's bigger, he's taller. He could, he's not going to be able to bully him around, but he is going to be able to outbox a guy like Mike Perry. Now, Mike Perry, bare knuckle, Mike Perry would smash the nose right off of Jake Paul. But with boxing gloves, I think it's a different story.
Well, the boxing world never ceases to amaze me with all of the exciting fights and all of the bullshit that is constantly happening. Steve Swift, where you can find out more about the business of boxing, dropped in round 7 here on The Law, so check that out on our YouTube channel. But Chris, what are your thoughts heading out of the week of boxing into, what's the next big fight that you're excited for?
Well, I mean,
a real fight.
As far as boxing goes,
Yeah.
probably Shakur Stevenson has a fight coming up as well. I know that finally, Boots Ennis has gotten a fight, and there's a guy who I think that a lot of people should have eyeballs on. And he's, a lot of people won't fight him. A lot of people will not fight him. And I think that, we just saw David Benavidez fight. If they can set that fight up with Canelo Alvarez, that's a good one. I think that what Gervonta Davis did was a fantastic showing. But I also think the way that Ryan Garcia handled Devin Haney, yeah. I think that that's a rematch that I would like to see maybe between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia is way too big right now. He'd have to cut a lot of weight, and he's not interested in doing that. So the only fights really for Tank Davis right now is somebody like a Vasily Lomachenko, right, or a Shakur Stevenson. That's it, really. Those are the only fights in that weight class. Everybody else has moved up to that 145, 146 weight class or whatever because there's more money in it right now.
The only fight in boxing I want to see is Zhang versus Francis. Give me Zhang versus Francis, please. God, somebody sign that.
Yeah, I think that it's not going to happen.
No, I don't. I just want it to happen. Well, before we take a quick break here, what are your last thoughts on the world of boxing and why is this shit crumbling every day? The more things that happen, like Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva,
because there's too many fractured pieces to the world of boxing. There's too many organizations. There's too many belts. There's too many hands in the pie. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, there is rumor going around that His Excellency, the Sheikh El Turki, right, is trying to do a unification where he basically owns all of it. And all of the big money fights are going to be out of, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Listen, he's got the money.
He's going to own everything.
He's got the money to do it. And the only person, Al Heyman, old as dirt. Don King, his promotion is garbage and old as dirt. A lot of these guys are old guards, with the exception, of a couple of promoters out there, and they'll all fall in place too. But he definitely has shown that they have the infrastructure, they have the money, they have the resources to make that the boxing capital. It used to be that New York was the boxing Mecca. Then it was Las Vegas was the boxing Mecca. Well, it might just turn out that Mecca is the boxing Mecca.